Okay, let's do a test circuit in the Piper PA28. Getting full power, takeoff power is set. Left rudder, keeping her on the center line. We are looking for 60 knots. There's 60 knots, rotate. Nice vertical rate, gear is coming up. A little bit of trim in. Looking nice. Keeping ourselves on our takeoff heading. So coming up on 800 feet, easing the power back 25 inches, 25 RPM, standard rate turn to the left, ready for our crosswind leg. Nice smooth standard turn using the horizon to judge our pitch and our bank, just glancing down occasionally at the controls, using the bump on the nose of the aircraft as a reference. So coming up and back to 20 inches and 2200 RPM, leveling off at 1000 feet, just giving ourselves a little bit of room on the crosswind so that we don't overfly the noise abatement areas around Coventry. So again, standard rate turn to the left, maintaining our altitude at 1000 feet AGL. Keeping ourselves nice and level, maintaining that standard rate of turn with coordinated flight. Right, leveling off in neutral on the rudder. We're abeam the threshold of the runway, so landing gear is coming down. We want to be at about 100 knots as we reach the other end of the runway, and ready to put in our first notch of flaps. There we are, first notch of flaps going in. Just return power to 20 inches, a little bit of a descent required. Just climbed by sort of 40 feet or so. We're going to want to be around about the 90 knot mark. Just starting to drop the nose, starting to come down for our initial descent. Just easing off the power. Obviously going to pick up speed as we start to descend. Standard rate turn to the left, a little smidge of power in as we'll lose a little bit of altitude. We'll pitch down as we bank round. Standard rate turn coming ready for our base leg. A little bit fast, it's easing up on the power, leveling off. Second notch of flaps, make sure you compensate. The nose is going to want to pitch up. High RPM on the propeller, just in case we need to execute a go around. We want to be getting ourselves for a speed of about 80 knots. Starting to look at the runway to judge when we're going to turn to final. We're a bit high, 3 whites. White is flight, red is dead, red is too low, white is too high. There's a first red coming in, starting our standard rate turn to the left. Starting to put some power in, just starting to shallow out that descent. We're pretty well bob on. Our speed is at 80 knots, which is just where we want it to be. We're just a smidge high, but 500. Not a lot. Keeping ourselves well above the electrical wires. Just going to take the power out, just steepen our descent, see if we can catch up on that glide slope. And pick up some speed, but that's okay, because as we pull the nose up, as we get back on the glide slope, that speed will come off. There we go, we're on glide, within gliding distance, so we're going to get that final notch of flaps in. Now using rudder, which is going to have far more control authority than the ailerons, in order to keep us level on, to keep us facing down that center line. We're 70 knots, bob on the numbers, a little bit trim coming in. Looking good. Eyes turning towards the horizon, and as we cross just over the numbers, bringing the power all the way out. Nice gentle transition for a perfect touchdown on the 1,000-foot markers. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a textbook landing in the Piper PA-28. Flaps coming out, leaning the mixture. Getting the fuel pump off. Just a little smidge of brakes. Nothing too crazy. Taxi round. Get her set up for a parking. Trick is not to get too slow, but not to be too fast. It's a bit like a Goldilocks thing. You get too slow, it will be difficult to get momentum as you come around this turn. A little bit of left brake. Nice. Parking brake on. Engine cut off. Feather the propeller. That is how you land the Piper.